All right, we are here for a special edition of Apps and Asphalt. It's episode 16, and we have a special guest on here, someone who has known me for a very long time. Can I call you Dad?
Dad's good, Pops, you name whatever.
All right. This is my father, Paul Milewski. I've come from a very long line of paving, like how the industry has kind of come to us, and he's been instrumental in where I've come, how I've gotten here, and I wanted to have him on here because I feel like he'd be a great guest to get some insight, and it'll be a fun one for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll have a good time.
All right. So, all right, Dad.
I just want to start out by saying I'm still the head of the house. I took the seat that Zack wanted here. To let him know who's still the head of the house here.
He did. Usually, this is my seat. It actually is always my seat, but
not today.
Not today. I was like, well, I guess you can have it.
Just sit at the right hand of the Father.
Right hand. Oh man. So I wanted to have you on here, Dad, because I think like our story is pretty incredible. It's incredible in the sense that like we've been at the bottom, and I have watched what you guys have done, what you and Mom did, and build a very lucrative, well-oiled family business, and then watched you guys exit it. But I've also remember the early times too. Like I remember the Mouse House where we started.
Oh yeah, the Mouse House.
I remember a lot of like the little things. I mean, not vaguely. So I wanted to talk with you and kind of get some perspective on what you thought and how everything kind of came about. So tell me about some of your first early memories and how you got into the paving industry.
Okay, yeah. It's pretty interesting story. It's just I'll talk a little bit about how I got into asphalt to begin with. So just kind of got to go back in my personal life a little bit. We grew up very poverty level, and wanted to go to college, but they didn't. I just didn't have the means financially to do that, and just kind of. In high school, we had, now they had classes to teach you everything you need to know to get into school. And
yeah.
I just didn't have anyone to help me and mentor me through all of that and get there. And I was just tired of not having money. And, we had this company called Sterling Companies in Fort Collins.
Which was, it was before Western Mobile, right?
Right, before Western Mobile, and it's Martin Marietta now, and Sterling Companies and Flight Iron Companies. Oh.
Shout out the Sterlings, Trevor Sterling.
Oh, Trevor Sterling,
That's right. Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Yeah, in fact, my boss was Dave Sterling.
Really?
That was my boss, yep.
That's crazy.
So anyway, it was, jobs then were hard to come by. It was hard to get a job. And if you got one, you weren't going to lose it. It was a completely different world back then. So, but what I liked about that is, those guys would work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and everything was time and a half, and I never had money like that in my life. So anyway, Rick Steele ended up getting me a job at Sterling Companies. And
so Rick was working over there.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Dang, they go way back into that company.
You got both Kelly and I both in there.
Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
So Rick got me onto the asphalt patching and seal coating crew, and Dave Sterling was our boss. And they were regimented back then. You couldn't even touch a rake for a year. You had to watch and learn how someone raked the right way before he'd even let you touch a rake. So.
Is this after high school then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a few years after high school.
Gotcha.
So that was my first job, and then I ended up turning into the patching and seal coating foreman there.
Okay.
So I did that for a few years, and then came you. So this kind of ties in. This kind of ties into all this.
The best part of the story.
I was 23 at that time. It was my very first foreman job out on the crew, and this was on Shield Street downtown Fort Collins, and I'm nervous, and Dave Sterling says, "It's yours, take it," and we're just getting ready to take off, and we're paving a big patch with a spreader box. I mean, back then we used spreader boxes.
Really?
So pull behind spreader boxes.
Yep.
So I'm nervous. I have an engineer sitting on this side of me. First truck takes off. We go about 20 feet, and Dave Sterling comes on and says, "Your wife's on the CB. She needs to talk to you. It's an emergency." So I go take that call, and she tells me she's pregnant with you. And now I'm really nervous, right? Because
wow.
I'm just elated, but I'm also, this is my debut at the same time. I'm going down Shield Street, like, and all these eyes on me, and my first job, and now I'm just, I can't even think. I'm just blown away. So that's how that all started out.
That's when Baby Z was born. Baby Z just started.
I remember that day well, because obviously everyone remembers that day, first child, but I remember thinking to myself, man, my life changed that day dramatically in an instant, just like that. I was thinking, boy, you got to grow up right now real fast. And that meant dropping a few friends that weren't so good for me, a few habits that weren't good for me. And I just knew what I had to do. And it was good. It was great. It was fantastic. It was good for me, and
that's awesome.
Exciting. But yeah, you kind of were, you were part of the asphalt business before you even popped out, kid.
I know. Before I even popped out.
Oh, and speaking of that, I talked to that too.
Yeah.
I remember the day you were born. It was the hottest day of the year. So it was literally 105 degrees out that day, and I remember in the hospital looking out at the asphalt from the hospital room, and I could see the heat waves coming off the asphalt.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And I just
Poudre Valley, huh?
Yep. I just remember thinking
it's crazy.
That. So
that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And then you think about it now, like, I mean, Poudre Valley, we do all the work over there now. We've built them pavement plans for years. And it's like,
isn't that crazy?
It gives me the chills, because it's like, there's not places we haven't touched in areas of the state or the city, and then like all these different memories that circle back. Even like now with us being in Arizona, and us even having some Arizona ties at a very early point in time with the asphalt industry as well too, was crazy. Like, super crazy. I remember.
Yeah, you were down in Arizona in the asphalt business too, but I'll get to that. Let me back up some, because you wanted to know how I got into it.
Yeah, I want to hear more.
So from there, I ended up working for two more asphalt companies. I worked for Colson Paving, and then I also worked for Thompson Valley Seal Coating on Level, and they had one of the first infrared machine in the western United States, and I worked on that and realized these are pretty slick equipment and money-making machines, and it didn't take me long to figure out how much money those things make. And so I was talking to my brother Greg, who worked for the Teamsters up in Alaska, and he was kind of getting tired of doing what he was doing, and I was telling him, how these machines work and how well they do, and he's like, I'm ready for a change. If you want to think about partnering, I got a little bit of money saved up, and so that's how we got started. I got started with my brother Greg. We started Infratech Asphalt, specifically doing just infrared work.
That's crazy. And so that was like late 80s, huh?
Yeah, so without Greg, maybe none of us
pioneers. Uncle Greg. You mentioned and it's crazy too. You mentioned Thompson Valley. Thompson Valley is the McLeod's.
Mark McLeod,
who is one of the goats in our industry for sure, because I think he just went into the Hall of Fame over at the National Pavement Expo.
Yeah, I love that guy. Mark's awesome.
Tom McLeod, TJ.
Yep.
Love that guy too. He's salt of the earth. So, man, it's crazy, like how all of these things, and I still talk to Tom from time to time too, and it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah,
Like the generational push of everything is nuts.
Right.
You know.
Right. They're all still around too, right?
Yeah, they're all still around. It's wild.
So from there, we had Infratech Asphalt for a while, and then we just went our separate ways. We took our company down to Arizona too.
Okay.
Because you were just tiny, just a little tyke, like I don't know, like 2 or 3 years old or something. I don't know.
I was still cute.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was good and bad. I mean, by the time we figured out, we got enough work and business down there, our idea was to go down there just for the winter and then come back to Colorado and then work and just get some winter work done. But by the time we got enough work lined up, it was time to come back in spring, and it was a little bit of a struggle.
It's hard
down there.
It's hard.
Struggle. So that was a lesson learned. That wasn't real. Real fun, but
we've all been there. I mean, I've learned my lessons too. We were trying to put headquarters into San Antonio, not headquarters, a regional office into San Antonio, like literally the month before COVID hit, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm really glad we didn't, because you're right. It's so much. It's a longer investment time than people anticipate most of the time, right?
Right. Takes a while to get.
Takes a little while. Yeah.
Straighten out. Yeah. Yeah.
So then you were.
So then, Greg and I went different paths, and we Tanya and I were broke. Your mom and I were really, really about as broke as could be. We were talking about the mouse house. We were in this little 2-bedroom farmhouse that is all we could afford up in Fort Collins, and we called it the mouse house because it was infested with mice all over.
Gosh, I remember that place.
Yeah,
I remember that place.
Yeah, but anyway, we had zero money, and the way Silco Asphalt came to be is I was desperate. I mean, we were hurting bad for money, big time, and Uncle Lee's Motors was down on Mulberry Street, this old Missouri boy, and he had an old logging truck, old Brownie we called it, a 3/4 ton flatbed logging truck, and I remember it was $1,500, and I said, Lee, I don't have $1,500. Can I pay you $500 now? $500 in 2 weeks, and $500 in another 2 weeks, and so he did. We didn't have any credit. I didn't have anyone that could co-sign, and that's what it took. And then I went down to go see Duke at Sealmaster, and I said, Duke, I need to rent a machine. And he's like, you got to fill out this credit app. I said, I don't have any credit. And he just wasn't going to do it.
So and Duke, quickly, Duke is now the franchise head owner of Sealmasters, and they're all over the world. And he was in Denver, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's crazy.
He had the Sealmaster in Denver, and he wasn't going to do it. And I think I might have had almost a little breakdown, because I just flat out told him, I said, man, I need someone to give me a break. I said, just fill me up. I'll bring you cash back. And I just literally talked him into it. And he probably doesn't even know this, but without him, I'd never got going. So just on good faith and trust in me, he filled the seal coating tank up, and then we took that up to Estes Park, Colorado, and just start knocking on doors, seal coating driveways, and we did 110 driveways that year.
Wow. So were you knocking on doors?
It was all me.
Were you doing the work and knocking on the doors?
Yeah, and I had a few people help. Then that's when Doug Wood came along.
Man,
yeah.
That is crazy.
But so, yeah, that's how we got rolling.
Dang.
And then the next year down in Loveland, Longmont, we had Pratt Partnership down there, and they had bought their own infrared machine. They had a lot of commercial properties, and they just wanted to save money, and they just ended up not being able to use it correctly, and so we did trade out work for them all summer. I said, I do all this work for you in exchange for that infrared machine. And that's how we got our first infrared machine, was by bartering
So you ended up taking Pratt's infrared?
Yeah, we took their infrared, and I think we had to do something like 3,000 or 4,000 heats or something like that
Dang.
for them. And that's how we got that machine. And then I finally started getting some money where I could get a little bit of bank. Your mom was doing all the bookkeeping, plus working a second job at Hewlett Packard. So yeah, it wasn't easy.
How did you guys come up with the name? This is crazy. This is crazy because I actually remember it. I remember being in the Mouse House off Prospect, and then seeing all these sheets of paper of like stencils of like
Really?
Seal Co. of like a seal, and then like you guys drawing out. Because did you guys draw out?
We did. Well, we had a bunch,
I remember it. Like I literally remember
variations
that.
of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
That's
love
crazy.
seals. I wanted a seal for a logo.
That's cool. That is so cool.
A lot of people ask me, "How did you come up with that seal coat?"
Yeah. I remember you and Mom, like, and it's super vague, but I just remember like these like things in my mind. I'm like, was that real or was that fake?
But it worked. It was everyone remembered because you're the company with a seal. Everyone loved that.
Yep.
So
Yeah. No, it's such a cool
Trusted
logo.
seal.
Yes, trusted seal. I love it. And so Seal Co started turning a little bit because I remember from that point
We just kept building. Yeah.
you just kept building. What do you think? I mean, you've had people that have given you opportunity at times. Duke was one of them. You've had the people that we were able to get the old brownie from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's like acts of giving like that have kind of stemmed you to be so giving and trusting and always wanting to help people? And because you're always willing to help people, you're always willing to help friends and family, and always the first one to try to solve a problem. Do you think like it's some of those people along the way that you would?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And also just now I wasn't at that time, but I'm a man of faith, and that's what we're here for. I mean, we're here to help our brothers and sisters, and that's why we're here. And so, but at that time, I was just trying to do what I had to make a living. But yeah, I mean, none of us get to where we're at without a whole entourage of people that have helped us along the way. I mean, you're right. I mean, you got Lee's Motors, my brother Greg. I wouldn't have got started without him, and you got Duke, and then just all the people that work with you and stand by your side along the way. It's not me. It's everybody, and your mom, and how hard she worked, and we did. It's a good years, and then we had bad years. I mean, we almost went bankrupt a couple different times, and it's tough. I remember having to sell my truck to make payroll. What I'm proud of, we never missed payroll, ever. Not one time.
It's incredible.
Not even a day late once, ever.
It's incredible.
But we came close. I remember having to sell my truck for nothing so we could make payroll, and then just go out and lease a new one. But so yeah, we've come close. We've come close. People don't know. Your employees have no idea what you go through as an owner to get to where you're at, and it's been a lot of challenging times. It's a hard business. I mean, there's just so many variables in this industry that can go wrong. I mean, you lay out your week, and you lay out your week, and rarely, I mean, does a week ever go exactly the way you planned it? You've got weather, you've got employees that don't show up, you go in an apartment complex and you're going to seal coat or pave the lot, and they didn't move the cars, and so you got to adjust and pivot to the next job. And it's probably one of the most adaptive industries there is, as far as being able to pivot and adjust and adapt. And if you can't do that, you sink really fast. So, kind of takes an ADHD person to run this business. You gotta, which I have some of, and you've got to be able to do a lot of things at once and juggle a lot of things at once and pivot and move. And it's tough, man. It's a tough business, and it's hard. I mean, the one thing I feel really good about is we've earned every penny we have, every bit of it, the hard way, and I feel good about that, because it's in looking what you've done and what you've grown. It's just unfathomable to me to see what you've grown. I'm so proud of you. It's just like, I walk in here and it like brings tears to my eyes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, gosh, it's crazy. I love you, Dad. I love you.
Times 50.
I remember the hard days too.
It's we.
It's we. It's we.
And your mom was just a huge part of it.
She's just 100% in. Mom is like the downest chick I've ever met in my life. Like, I'm like, we got to do this. She's like, okay, and she supports it.
Yeah, she'll do whatever it takes.
Man, yeah, it's crazy that you mentioned all that stuff. Like, I remember sitting in I think we were in a single cab at the time, and us going to it was BMC at the time off of Harmony in Fort Collins. I remember going to a sales meetings, but this one specifically because you let me wheel. I think this is probably the first time you let me wheel the wheel to measure a parking lot.
I actually remember that day. I do remember that. I remember thinking, oh, he'll like this. This is gonna be cool.
It was cool. It was so cool. And then
throwing you up on all the equipment, the rollers, and every piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What about you, Brennan? Did your dad put you up on all the equipment?
All right, we've got a special guest in the house too.
Mr. Man, did your dad put you up on all the equipment, the rollers and backhoes and?
We let him climb on just about whatever he wants.
A lot of stuff when we have grill outs at the old shop.
Yep.
We had a lot of things in the garage where we would eat and they would talk, and I would sit in a tractor. Was it a tractor or the Silco?
The skidster.
Yeah, the skidster.
Yep.
And I remember you telling me just to take it up there and eat in there.
Yep. That's right. That was our Christmas party. We had a bunch of beer. Imagine that.
Brandon, what are you going to do at your dad's age? What are you going to do?
Probably take over the family business.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I like that.
Good to hear.
I like that.
Well, it's hard work. It's hard. It's not easy. It's hard, but you know what? You get a lot of makes you feel good to work hard. Nothing makes you feel better than putting a hard day's work in and knowing you accomplished something. So but it won't be easy. It's hard, but the rewards are great, and you're doing something to serve the community and help people that. Someone's got to fix our roads. It's not a very glorious job, but someone's got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And it's not like a glorious industry, but I feel like there's so many cool things that can come from hard work in a white collar industry that people don't see that are cool. As our kids are getting older and, my little brother, Brandon, and other kids, you're like, do I want them to go to college? Do I care if they go to college? It's changed so much that it's like learning and knowing trades and how to operate things from the ground level up at a young age sets you up for success in industries that are hard to
trade it.
Yeah.
Trade industries is a dying breed. I mean, it's and it's going to be very, very lucrative in the future because there's not many people that want to do it, and it has to be done, and you're going to get paid well to do any kind of trade, more than ever. Being in the trade industry, and college can be. I got different opinions on college, depending on what college you go to. So
I know for a long. Well, here let's run this back a little bit. I almost got in trouble for not going to college.
Yeah.
For not going to college, and I just kind of knew from a very young age. I was like, do you remember us going? We were going into, I think, a restaurant, and I was like, Dad, did you go to college? No. And I think we were in front of people, and I was like, well, you're doing okay. Maybe I shouldn't go to college. Do you remember that? Oh, what was that? Where were we? Do you remember that?
I don't remember. Remember that.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember. Yeah.
Speaking of memories, this is one of my greatest memories about you, and I think it says everything about where you're at today. So we took a family vacation to Florida, and we were in Fort Lauderdale. And part of that trip was we took a tour cruise through the lifestyles of rich and famous through the waterways. And anyway, we ended up coming by this big yacht came by with a helicopter on it, and I don't know. I was trying to think how old you were. I think maybe
10, 12?
I think I was thinking something like, right. I thought the same thing, 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I can remember this so well. I mean, I remember very well. You said, Dad, how does that guy get that? This is a perfect question to ask. And I remember my answer pretty well. I was like, oh, that guy's no different than you. You're like, he gets up, puts his pants on one leg at a time. He's got to go to the bathroom in the morning like you do. He's no different. But I guarantee you that guy works hard. And so we talked about work ethic. I remember that. And we talked about everything being available. It's all available, whatever you want. And I was, back then, because I didn't go to college, for myself, I was thinking, man, all my buddies were going to school and stuff. I thought, I gotta get ahead of them in a different way. I read every self-help book on the planet.
I remember you had Tony Robbins
and Power of Subconscious Mind. I mean, I could name 100 of them, but I was into that big time. And but anyway, so I remember thinking I wanted to plant that seed in your head, and it's like that seed is growing.
Thanks. I remember that too. People ask me, not that I'm anywhere great. Like I feel like this mission is not even halfway over, but I feel like we're treading the right direction. When people ask me those questions, I'm like, I can remember certain points in my life where I'm like, it's almost like a light bulb goes off and things start connecting on another level. And I talk to some of my friends, it makes me sad sometimes that like they haven't had a father to give them that back. Like, hey, it's all accessible. Everything is accessible in life. You know, you're available to do whatever you want. If you want to be the president, you be the president. If you want to go, have a $1 billion corporation, that's great. If you want to go own an island, you go do that. You do whatever you want in life. Everything is accessible. And that's one thing that you've always done a really good job of, is showing me through what you've done, like just true servant leadership, but then also telling me and giving me the idea that it, making me feel like it's
making you work. And part of making you work was making you hurt. Like, I wasn't going to bail you out, and that was.
You didn't bail me out.
Oh, I bailed you out a little bit.
Hey, no pun intended. I don't know.
No, but in other ways, you've bailed yourself out fine in business. But no, teaching you work ethic was very important to me. Very, very important to me. I remember, like you and Ashley both, when your first car, I said, look, well, I'll give you a down payment and you can go get a loan and make payments, because I knew that would make you work. Or I'll give you this much money and you can just buy a used car and you won't have any payments. And of course, both of you picked really nice cars to get a loan. So I took you to my banker. I don't know if you remember going to the banker.
Let Mark, him know right? It was Mark.
Actually, the first one was at First National Bank.
You're right, it was.
First National Bank.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, and so, you got your credit going there.
Early.
We co-signed for you then, I remember, but you guys wanted those big payments, and your mom didn't want to do that. She definitely didn't want to do that. But I knew that you were going to learn some stuff real quick about having payments and managing that. And I think both you and Ashley, I think Ashley did a little better job than you did as far as making the payments, but I think you both struggled a little bit, but it was good. I mean, I wanted you to feel the pain. I just don't want you to ruin your credit, but I wanted you to feel that at an early age. So we got you guys doing that early.
You did. You got me into it early. I remember
we weren't making your payments.
Oh, I remember, like, even just like racing motocross growing up, like you guys even, I mean, you helped me, but you made me pay for the stuff that I wanted to do that were like exotic, extra, type things. And so you'd give me the opportunity. It would be up to me to do the work and meet you halfway on those type of things. And I think, I would say parents can go back and forth in their mind. Did I do what's right? Did I not do what's right? Did I do what's right? Did I not do what's right? I think what you guys did was incredible. It was a perfect balance of giving accessibility, but leaving it far enough that you have to reach for it. You have to do the work to meet people along the way. And so as I, father my kids, and as they're growing up, I want to make sure I do the same thing. And,
as a parent, it's real easy to want to give. And I think you can give too much to where you're doing more damage. And
sure.
And I think growing up as broke as we did, we probably gave you guys more than we should have. Honestly, looking in hindsight,
yeah,
I might have been a little harder on you, a little bit in some things, but in other ways, I mean, when it came to starting your own business, you did it on your own. I mean, it's the striping business, and we fed you a little bit of work, but you had to earn your money to get it going and get it started. And I think that was your first venture in your own business, right? Was the striping business?
Yeah, it was like, I think I was sitting on the couch in the basement, and you guys pretty much came and told me, you're like, "Hey, we think you should start striping." I'm like, "Huh? By myself?"
Either that or go get a job.
or go get a job. I'm like, "All right, well then here we go." And that was incredible. It gives you access. You have to learn. The cost of business is a thing. So that's
you started off great, and then I remember you had struggles, and I mean that's all part of it. It's you're
Did you ever feel those, like you're going, and you're like, man, I finally hit my stride. I'm hot shit. I'm good. And then the world comes crashing and gives you
there's so many things that can go wrong in this business. I mean, it only takes one or two customers not to pay you.
Yep.
And you're in a big trouble if it's a big enough job, and that happens, or someone goes bankrupt on you, which has happened to us. And I mean, that's nobody makes up for that when it happens. And
yep.
That's happened. Like I said, we've almost went bankrupt a couple times, and it's happened a lot, and it's a lot of sleepless nights, and people don't realize you don't always sleep sound.
You don't. It's
But I will say this: we've always had faith in our family, in God, and I'll tell you a story that's really, really cool. This is an amazing story, actually. It's probably give me chills talking about it, but we were really struggling at one point. I remember our payroll was like $21,000 that week, and we couldn't make it. And that was this thing. I just took so much pride in never missing payroll, and our line of credit was maxed out, and I had a little breakdown and a little fit with God, I think, and I just cried out to him and said, I don't know what to do. Like, I need help. We're going to really lose this company. And literally 5 minutes later, I'm driving down past First Christian Church. And that was a big job that was a huge parking lot. And we'd call them once a year, but we never got that job. And I'd call him earlier, and he called up and said, "Hey, we need a bid from you guys." And I said, "Well, hey, I'm 2 miles away from you. I'll just turn around and come over there." So I went and bid that job, and they had $22,000 that they had to spend right then and there. He's the only customer that ever said, "I need to spend this money now. It's in our budget. Can I pay you full up front?"
That's God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That's God.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think.
So
gosh, that's crazy.
It's not all
That
hard work.
crazy.
It's faith, and that's got me. I'm having a lot of great breaks in my life. I don't think it's because my own works by any means. I've had a lot of good fortune, good breaks, and good things happen along the way, and there's no doubt the big guy's always been part of it.
Good fortune, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. God is always at the center of it. Good fortune doesn't come, though, without doing the right thing along the way, without looking out for people along the way, without... This is a very easy business to be very selfish in.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to remember, like, people are breaking their backs for you. And, like, we have a team right now. We're so lucky. I'm like, we're walking through this brick wall. And I've got people behind me, and they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
How do we do it? I don't know how we do it, but we're going. And you know, it's surrounding yourself with good people. You've
been awesome at that. You've done such a great job.
Well, I've gotten better. I wasn't very good at that. You told me from a really young age, my dad was like, Zach, you need to change some friends. I'm telling you, you keep hanging around shit, you're going to smell like shit, buddy.
And that comes from my dad, Grandpa Ski.
Yeah.
That was his famous line. You hang around shit, you smell like shit, and that's
Yep.
There's some truth in that.
There's some truth in that. You know, there's
Pick your friends wisely.
You gotta choose the right people to be around, which you know comes back to mentorship. I was gonna ask you, like, did you have any mentors or like I've had clients that have kind of become mentors to me, which were your clients at one point. Mm-hmm. Bernie Rowland has been.
Oh yeah, same.
That guy is like a gift from God to us. Like, I think, like, where he's been, what he's been able to accomplish in life, the ability for him to always give us return business and then teach me business.
And that's interesting you mentioned him, because Greg was the first person to do work for Bernie Rowland.
No kidding.
And then when he was
right.
When he was done, Bernie came to me, and then to you.
That is right. Yeah. Holy smokes.
And so and Bernie
I love that.
And Bernie's a hard ass. He's not letting you get away with anything.
he's not. He's not.
But he was a good teacher, and he's fed our family well with work. But he made us earn it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember you telling me about that. Yep. So Uncle Greg started that one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Man, we could go for hours and hours and hours on like what direction, stories, everything. What would you say, or let's switch things up a little bit. I want to know, there's got to be some standout moments. What has been your best moment, your funniest moment, or, you know, the worst moment in business along the way? And doesn't necessarily need to be COCO, but there's got to be, you've got so much wisdom and stuff, and I think a lot of people are probably gathering that, and I might have to make you start an Instagram after this, because I think you have so much knowledge that the world needs to hear, which is part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on. I'm like, give me some instances I want to hear like what's the craziest thing that has ever happened in business for you?
Craziest thing and worst moments. I mean, there's been a lot of those. Craziest is Big Richard coming into my office at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning and wanting to kill me because I fired him a couple days earlier, and he'd been out on Richard was a linebacker, I think, for USC. He's a big old boy. He's a big boy. And he came in after being on a couple-day binger, and who knows what he was doing. And he came in Saturday morning, barged in the office, and I was in there, and we had Big Ed, the mechanic, in there, and he's like, boss, I don't think you should have fired me, and you need to bring me back. And I wasn't having a good morning anyway that morning. I don't know what was going on. Maybe your mom and I were arguing or something. I'm not sure, but I just know I was already in a bad mood that morning, and I didn't want to be there.
So it runs in the bloodline a little bit.
He said, I said, well, Rich, I can't bring you on, and I found out he was selling drugs to some guys on the crew and stuff like that. So, I mean, just let some other guys go too.
Dang.
And anyway, so he's like, well, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. I go, Rich, you need to leave, buddy. And he goes, no, you're getting it. And it just, pushed us too far. And I just said, well, then, Rich, bring it. And he did instantly. He flew over the desk, and we got into a full-on fist fight. And I remember thinking, this guy's a lot bigger. Like, this could be a fight to my death. And I remember thinking, I got to knock him out. And I just, like, that's all that was in my head. I was like, I have to knock this guy out because he's going to wear me out. He's younger and bigger. And I hit him as hard as anyone I've ever hit. And he went to the floor and dropped. I was like, I knocked him out. And he popped up like Jack in the Box. He's like, is that the best you got? And in my mind, I'm like, yep. I hit him so hard, my feet came off the ground. I was like, that was every bit and some. Is that the best you got? I was like, every bit and then some.
Oh, my
and
God.
Luckily, thank God, Big Ed was in the office.
Was it that right hand?
He was the over.
Is that right hand, baby?
It was Dad's overhand.
Somebody
right.
forgot to tell him about that right hand.
So Big Ed comes in and we tackle him, and as Ed's holding him down, I'm reaching on the phone. We're dialing 911, and is just taking everything because he'd been cranked up all night or whatever. Anyway, so the cops come. Yeah, they get him and they arrest him and take him away. And he's like, "Well, looks like you got the best of him," because his head was split open. I said, "No, I don't really think so." He feel the knots on the back of my head. So anyway. Yeah, that was probably the craziest thing.
Damn, I remember that. Like, I don't remember exactly how everything worked, but like I remember that moment.
Yeah.
Like Sheila Scott was probably working for us, maybe Perryman and
all those guys were there.
Man.
And Big Eddie was so funny, the way he talked. He's like, "Boys, boss hit Big Rich in the noggin with his fist, knocked him down."
Oh my gosh!
Anyway, I probably wouldn't say bring it again next time.
No,
Look, I mean, that could have ended up a lot worse.
God,
so
I'm wondering where our family gets all this fire from, and I'm starting to realize I'm like, this might be generational, because
it's not good. It's nothing to be proud of.
It's nothing to be proud of. No. But there is a lot of passion that drives behind everything,
Yeah, we're a passionate family. That's
passionate, sure. Absolutely. What about the funniest? You know what? There was actually, I remember hearing a story about Estes Park, and it was a crack fill job that you guys had, and it was one of the hotels or motels. Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't think this is appropriate for Brandon's ears.
Oh, yeah. It's you know how our family rolls.
Earmuffs, Brandon. Like this, Brandon. So I ended up bringing Matt Pear on, sold out the seal coating into the business to him, and we had an agreement that he would do all the seal coating, crack sealing, and we do all the asphalt work, which worked out great. We had a fantastic relationship, and it was really a good relationship, and we had this rule that you look out more for me than I do for myself, and we both truly ran our business like that, and we had a great partnership for 7 years. Anyway, so Matt went up to Estes Park, Crackville. This Asian couple had this hotel up there, and they couldn't speak. His English was very broken up, and so she said, "Come on, Matt, I'm going to do my imitation. Matt, Mr. Crack, you come see me." So I go up there, and we look at this little 10-inch crack that Matt missed out of 10,000 feet. Matt, he don't asapaca this very good. He don't asapaca this very good. I said, "Okay, well, we'll get Matt back up here." She said, "You tell Matt he come back up here. He asapaca me real good."
Oh my God!
You started laughing. I said, what? I make funny? I would go, "Oh yeah, you make funny." So that one,
oh my gosh!
That one stuck for years. That one stuck.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was one of the funnier moments.
I love that. Man, that is hilarious.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
All right, worst moment or worst time. Let's go to the other side. Okay.
Let's go to the other side. Let me hear it.
Laughing to crying is when I got sick with leukemia. So that was age 31. And I was getting ready to do what you were doing. We were just getting ready to buy pavers and get into paving and really get going, and all ramped up and to do that. And then I got sick and just decided to completely put the brakes on. Just the whole world changes when that happens. So
I remember that.
luckily I had some good guys. Todd Berry was around, and I had a lot of research to do. And they said, if I did nothing at all, I'd have 3 to 5 years to live, because we caught it early. But the option was a bone marrow transplant, or get on a drug called interferon that had like a 30% chance. And I had some pretty alternative friends back then that steered me, and that's a whole other story, that steered me in a kind of an alternative medicine world. And ultimately I ended up choosing that. Greg was an identical match for me.
He was ready to do it too.
Yeah,
huh?
he was going to do it for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, because if you do the transplant back then, they tell you it's a 70% success rate, which isn't true. It's done on a curve. It's a 50% chance that you'll be alive 5 years from the time you did it. And
So it's just it's an extension.
right? And most people that back then, if you didn't make it, you didn't make it within the first 90 days. So to do that transplant, it was like, okay, 50-50 chance I'll be alive in 90 days if I do the transplant, or I got 3 to 5 years that I can get things ready for my kids if I go. And so I asked Todd at that time, he was running one of the crews, he was a foreman then, and it's like, hey, do you think you can run this company for a couple months? I gotta get away from everything. I gotta go figure out what I'm gonna do if I'm doing this transplant. If not, what I'm gonna do. And so he stepped up to the plate and ran things for us. Your mom's. So I took off to Oregon, to the coast, because that place was just special to me, and I knew I had to get away from everything just so I could think clearly, and rented a little cottage up there. And your mom stayed back for just a little while until she got things settled down, and then she came out. And we just stayed out there for a couple months and researched and studied, and ultimately ended up making the decision not to do the transplant, which is the right decision, because I'm still here 28 years later.
Tough guy.
But it's a gamble.
It's gamble.
It was a gamble.
If you're going to gamble, you got to gamble on yourself,
Yep.
right?
That's right.
Yep.
Always gamble on yourself, not anyone else.
Yep.
So that was the worst time in life-changing in every way. And I just decided that money was not that important to me anymore. And we were making good enough money, and I just decided life is more important than money, and just to put the brakes on. And ultimately, that's kind of when I decided I wanted to sell. I knew the asphalt industry probably gave me leukemia. We used to spray gilsonite that was loaded with benzene. Benzene was cut with naphtha, and they know that naphtha, or benzene that's in naphtha, is one of the main causes of the type of leukemia I had.
Really?
As a matter of fact, I remember sitting out with Rick Steele on a parking lot. It was a really hot day, and we were spraying gilsonite, and we were watching the fumes come off. And he actually said, "Look at this shit we're standing in. We'll probably get something like leukemia someday." He said that.
No shit.
He actually said it. And now, with the water-based, asphalt-based sealers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's still some toxins you got to watch out for, but in my mind, I knew that's what gave me leukemia, and I just wanted to get away from it. So I started positioning myself to start thinking about selling, and talk to your mom about it and stuff like that too. And so I started working on selling, but we had a long ways to grow before we could do that. And then ultimately, Raybrine Group out of Chicago bought us out, and that was
a big
for me.
blessing.
It was good. It was a blessing and life changing, and I think good for you too, and
very
all
good
the
for me.
experiences. And you came on and worked with us, and but yeah,
that was wow. I remember all of that.
Yeah.
All of that.
I'm grateful to the Raybines, grateful to Gary Raybine, and
Yep.
I live on a nice little ranch in Nebraska now, and life
know.
is easy. Life
I
is
pull
life
them
is
all the
simple.
way down from Nebraska. I'm like, can you get away from hunting and fishing for just like a day and come join me on this podcast? We really need to do this. So, man, yeah,
Yeah.
you do. You've got a nice life that has been carved out, that you've carved out for yourself, with great people along the way, through the paving industry, asphalt, maintenance. And I think like one of the things that I wanted to do bringing you on was just kind of like get some of that. There's a lot of history there with Uncle Greg, who is, one of the pioneers. We've got, you mentioned all these different people, Duke, who I'm indirectly doing business with now. We've got, Ken from Sealmaster, all these people, Bernie Rowland, who's been so instrumental into my journey.
Yep.
Travis,
Yeah,
cousin Travis.
Travis worked for me since he was just a little tyke.
He probably one of the best salesmen you'll ever meet, all time.
Travis, good salesman.
One of the best. He's a close second or a third. Well, I don't know. You're up there. Would you say that you're a salesman or a people's person?
Oh, definitely a people's person.
Okay.
And more than people's person, I don't necessarily believe in selling product. Sales is all about asking questions. That's the key to good sales, because everybody has a need and a hot button, and you got to find out what it is. I mean, if you're going in to pave a parking lot or seal coat or whatever it is, it's either they either want the best price, they want the best job because they're holding that property for years. It's an investment for them. Or like I said, they're going to beautify it and sell it. And so it just depends what they're after. And as a salesman, you got to find out what their goal. So I always asked questions, and I just let the customer tell me what their needs were. And you can always curtail the bid to fit their needs. And so it's all about sales and relationships. And then, once you get a customer, it's not easy to get a customer. You want to keep them, And so you have a lot of great friendships from old customers that to this day, that's probably the funnest part of the business for me, is just all the old relationships and and some of the success stories with the employees coming up. And I mean, Doug Wood's a great success story that started out with some rough struggles and ended up working for us and learning a lot, and then he doing his own business and excavating, and very successful, and then good for him. And it's just nice to know that you were part of that.
Part of that journey.
People along the way.
Matt, rest in peace, who had such a good, strong run. I like the more you talk about it, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful for like the relationships that you've carved out up front for me. A lot of them I've been able to continue building on. Some have gotten passed along, but it's insane when you think about it.
It's interesting to see how things come, but it's we all know that life can get really bad really fast. What a lot of people don't know is how great life can get very quickly. You work hard, really hard for a year and dedicated, you'll be amazed what you can accomplish in 1 year. I mean, it is mind-blowing to look back and think of all the accomplishments we've had as a family in the industry and the business, and you look back and you think, how did that happen? And so, any of the
consistently doing the right thing, God, of course, plays.
Do the right thing and provide the right service. I mean, we always, we weren't always low bid, and I didn't want to be, and usually we weren't, but we did do the best work, and you were taught that. We always did the best work, and even when the customer was wrong, we still let them think they were right. If we had to go back and fix something that wasn't really miscommunication or something, wasn't our fault, we just ate it. and I think that's part of why Raybind bought us out. One of the things they asked was how many lawsuits we had in all those 25 years of business, and we had one.
Wow.
And we won it. One lawsuit, and we
Wow.
won it. And that's because we just didn't argue. We just went and took care of it, and we had great customer relations, and I think that was one of the things that was really. I remember them saying that's unheard of. We have 2 or 3 lawsuits a year in this industry. Everybody does, and so we took a lot of pride in always doing the right thing.
I love that.
It's easy to be a crook in this business if you want, real easy. But those guys don't last, and we all know who those guys are. They come and go quickly, and
go quickly.
They do. It's just wait a little while, they won't be around.
It's hard to do the right thing because it's up front on your side most of the time, but that is always what pays off. It pays the strongest dividend. Period. Like, you do what you're supposed to do, you treat people the right way, you hold up to your end of the bargain, and God takes care of the rest along the way, puts opportunity in front. Like, you mentioned God and everything, and I feel like I have to mention it, but like, from a very young age, you told me, like, you need to pray, but pray with like conviction, pray that like stuff is already happening, and be thankful for the stuff. And so I've always been able to pray and be thankful for opportunity that is coming our direction. And I think that's been like a huge piece of it, because like, I know we'll do our piece, I'll do my piece, but it's just making sure that, hey, give me some opportunity, man. We'll work with it, whatever we need to do.
Provides. You got to put it out there.
Yes.
You got to put it out there. You got to ask the right questions, which you did when you asking, how did that guy get there? But yeah, and it shows up. It's not usually ever in the timing that you want. That's the big miss. That'll be the first thing I ask him to get to meet God is, it's never on your time. It's always on His time. And so but it shows up, and it doesn't always show up in the way you think it's going to show up. It might take you in a different direction, but yeah, I can look back, and I could just tell story after story about how God's been in my life and changed the course of my life in different ways, and yeah, we're all work in progress, baby.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, I think we could go around part 2 of this, and then probably 3, 4, and 5 along the way here.
That's fun. I just sit here and as you were talking, I was just sitting here thinking, I'm so proud of you. Like, just listening to you talk and communicate and how you're thinking, it's like, wow, he is really matured in ways I haven't even quite fully recognized until right now. Like, I'm just blown away by you, Zach. It's just super proud of you.
Thanks, Dad. I love you.
Love you too.
You and Mom have man, you guys have like more than anything taught me to believe in myself, and I feel like that's a gift that we get to give other people in life. And I was sitting with friends last night, and I was like talking to them about certain things, and I'm like, man, like, this is doable, and you see people's eyes light up, but you can also see, because of that, people have not told them that in life, and it's like, I want what's best for people. I feel like I genuinely want what's best for people. I think you guys have instilled that into Ashley and I, and Keegan, and like our core values of who we are as people and in humanity. And I think like it's so hard to get that anymore. So you win with the hard stuff. What was it? You always told me, you're like, the only shortcut, Zach. There is no shortcuts.
Oh, yeah.
There is no shortcuts, okay? I'm like, what?
That's true. You think about it, you always want to take a shortcut. There's a million ways to take a shortcut in this business or in life. And, yeah, the only shortcut in life, if you think about it, is to know there are no shortcuts. That's the shortcut.
There is no shortcuts.
Work, man, and make it happen.
Get to work, make it happen, and then go.
If there's a shortcut, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts or conclusions or anything? Or, I am so grateful that you came all the way up here and come hang out with me, have a couple beers.
Glad I get to see my boy.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just like overwhelmed with pride and looking at this building what you and your mom have built and you guys have done together. It's just, I just can't even believe what you guys have done. It's really mind blowing. I mean, those are really my final thoughts. Just like,
Thanks.
I'm just a proud papa, man.
Thank you. I'm proud of you
Done
too.
well, Pilgrim.
I'm proud of you too. You planted the seed. Now we're just watering it. So awesome. Well, that wraps up episode 16. We got episode 17 coming up this week. And thanks again for coming up. Love you. And we'll wrap this one up.
How about a hug?
How about a hug, man?
How about a hug?
Goodbye, my love.
Awesome. Brandon. Man, see, you did great.
How about a hug? How about a hug? Mr. Man, we love you too.
Yeah.